Llyod, you quibbish babby, over here for mammon's sake. This weapon store you found, were there a bunch of beastmen last time you were here? You milk-livered nincompoop.
Hello folks and welcome to Dice Chatter. Frostgrave Season 3 is cruising along. Karen Crone and her Apprentice Llyod are ready to venture into this weapons store, which is home to some valuable treasure and a few beastmen. So without further ado, let's cover some pre-game info and dive right into the battle report.
Haven't these fools already learned everything there is to know about me?
Karen Crone, the Harridan, and her nephew Llyod continue their journey through the barren wastes of a fallen empire. Expect this witch to manipulate the battlefield with spells like fog and teleport, while brewing up a potion or two to boost her warband's potential. And speaking of her warband, we have a man-at-arms, an infantryman, a crossbowman who was purchased after last encounter, a fragile giant frog, and of course a couple thieves and thugs to grab all the goodies. Today we are dipping into the Frostgrave, Perilous Dark tome and playing Scenario 2, Isher's Weapon Shop. It looks like a difficult one, but I feel Karen and I are up for the challenge. Check out the book or the description for more detailed rules, though I am happy to give a quick synopsis. Karen and her crew have entered this store, this doorway being their only exit as well. On the opposite end of the table is a cabinet holding treasure. To each side of this cabinet are arcane locks. If both of these locks are fondled by a fighter, and both are not in combat, immediately coins and goodies will erupt from the cabinet. But of course, many beastmen are around to ruin Karen's day, and they will be spawning in each round. A race to the arcane locks, it seems. So, with all of this pre-game mumbo-jumbo out of the way, we have our tables set, and it's looking extra spicy. Man, I'm really loving how all of these terrain builds are turning out. Anyways, does our hero or villain, Karen Crone, have what it takes to acquire this rare, sought-after treasure, or has Llyod sent her into another trap?
Oh, I think you know the answer to that riddle, you flap-mouthed footlicker.
Well, Karen, let's have the battle begin. Before the match, Karen took the time to brew a potion, and chose one of healing. She was unsuccessful, but Llyod rolled a big 17. He decides to give the potion to the man-at-arms, who I'm sure will be needing it this battle. So begins turn number 1, with the newly acquired crossbowman who will move up to the edge of the riser here, and then attempt to fire a bolt into the unsuspecting beastman. A +2 shot into a +2 fight, and the bolt harmlessly flies by the goatman thug. This leads things over to Karen, who will move down the steps and get a nice view down the weapon shop floor and attempt to cast Imp nearby the Beastmen Knights. A 15 is more than enough, and an uncontrolled creature will now be pestering those beastmen near the treasure and riches. To finish off the wizard phase, the man-at-arms and the thief with one arm will move down the table, charging towards glory and coin. Or at least, we hope so. Next, we move on over to the apprentice phase, where Llyod will start things off by moving away from the entrance of the store to get into visual range of this nearby goat thug. He will then cast a curse on the creature. He needs a 9 on the die, but a natural 1, well, that doesn't work. And Llyod even takes a point of damage in the process. For the rest of the fighters nearby him, they will double move down the table, protecting Llyod, Karen, and begin inching closer to the objective. Both the casters now have had a go, but the opposing creatures are ready to get into the mix. For the creature phase, one of the burly and savage beastmen will move up and engage the imp. This goat outmatches the small demon significantly. With a +4 fight to the imp's +1, the dice gods are in the beast's favor this time, killing the imp with one swift swing of his weapon. This allows other beasts to take their moves up the table towards these human intruders. 5 moves in total, and 2 of these creatures manage to get themselves into combat. One of them having another action, it will take his spear and hope to slam it into the thug across from him. Even odds on the dice rolls, and the goat underestimates his foe, taking 5 damage. To start and finish off the soldier phase, both the leftover giant frog and thug will move and make their way up the table. This will then end turn number 1. Before we rush over to the next turn, a beast will spawn in over by the crossbowman. It seems we may have an archer off. Karen and her crew are pushing forward, but the beastmen keep popping in. How is she going to get a hold of this mess? Turn number 2 begins with the giant frog, who has enough movement to get up and personal with the beastman. He does get a bonus to attack with his man-at-arms pal right next to him. Despite the high die roll from the beast, the frog absolutely demolishes the thug, dealing a casual 24 damage. Definitely the highest damage I have ever seen in this channel's history. This big old frog really packs a punch. The man-at-arms is now free to move up and engage the other beast. The fighter has a slight advantage here, and the dice gods have switched to Karen's side as a natural 20 is rolled and the beast is eviscerated on the battlefield. The other fighter near Karen at the start of the round will move up and get next to the man-at-arms. They figure teaming up is better than going it solo. Karen will finally go. You can see her purplish clothing at the bottom of the screen. She will attempt to cast Grenade on the 2 beastmen past the glowing crystal. The die is rolled, and a 3 is way off the mark. The spell fizzles, and the witch ends up taking a point of damage. She will then move up the table and get behind this fallen pillar. Though let's see if Llyod and his nearby fighters can overcome Karen's miscast. The apprentice phase begins with the thug nearby Llyod, who will decide to take his axe and swing it at the beastman. A natural 1 on the die isn't the best, and the human fighter ends up taking a couple points of damage for his miscue. But alas, this forces the other thug to move up the table and create a human barrier with the friendly thief. And Llyod will move up and position himself just behind the wall of human flesh and also attempt to cast Grenade on the group of beasts. A 14 on the die is exactly what Llyod needed for the spell, and an explosion occurs at the base of the 2 fighters. The Knight Beastman on the left ends up taking 4 damage. It can definitely thank the armor and shield for protecting himself. For the thug next to him though, the shrapnel from the grenade is too much, killing the Beastman outright. This now creates an opening and an opportunity for Karen and her warband to make an offensive push. The knight who is damaged will charge forward into the nearest group of foes and then attempt to slam its axe into the thug. With an ally nearby, we have similar dice rolls, and the beastman can't push through any damage into his enemy. The other tough beastman up the table will double move forward and hope to slow down Karen's progression up the table. Though let's not forget the archer that spawned in this past round as well. It will fire an arrow into the giant frog, and this slimy green hopper was quick enough to dodge out of the way. The soldier phase will then begin, and it'll be another quick one. One of Karen's thieves sees an opening up the table and will double move towards the arcane locks. On the other side of the table, another thief is mixed up in some intense combat, but will elect not to fight, holding this beastman back. Though we can't forget about the crossbowmen, who will take a bolt and fire down at the archer. With another massive natural 20 from Karen's fighters, maybe she does have a good chance to snag some of these treasure chests. This will end turn number 2. Some more beasts will spawn in the corner near Llyod and his few fighters. A beastman archer and a thug. Karen and her crew have injured and dispatched a few beasts at this point, but they keep on showing up. She has to get to those locks quickly if she wants to get out of here with some treasure. We begin turn number 3 with the wizard phase. The man-at-arms will attack first, getting some assistance from the infantryman next to him. He has a slight advantage, and manages to slam in a good amount of damage, bringing the beast down to 3 hit points. This will then give Karen the opportunity to move up the table towards the cabinet, and then cast Steal Health on the damaged creature. She needs an 11, and a weak will save from the beast, but the opposite happens, and the spell fizzles. The giant frog knows what's up, and takes a long stroll forward, and gives the infantryman the needed boost to hopefully take down the beastman. The green fighter will now take his spear and poke it forward. +7 to the knight's +4, and another natural 20 on the table. Absolutely insane. The beastman is dispatched with ease this time, and the infantryman will move forward, getting closer and closer to the prize. The apprentice phase will now begin. Llyod, who is hiding behind his nearby fighters, will attempt to cast a curse on the strong beastman before him. The spell goes off on a 9, and Llyod will take a point of damage to make sure this monster has a -2 to all dice rolls. And then the apprentice will use all of his movement to get to the top of this glowing crystal. The spell now gives a slight bonus to the green thug, who will attack the knightly beastman. The dice are rolled, and another wild outcome. With the natural 20 and the exceedingly strong bonus from the thug, both fighters stab each other in the heart, ending both of their journeys in this battle. This now allows the thief, who is right next to the bloody battle, to charge down and assist the other green thug and attack the goat. A minor bonus here for the thief, and 3 good damage pushes into the fighter. The last move of the Apprentice phase goes to the thug, who will also attempt to strike down the beast. These dice are really pushing out those high numbers today, and another thug is taken down, and our fighter will reposition here in anticipation of other goats charging forward. The creature phase will begin with the only 2 beastmen combatants on the table. The archer will go first and fire an arrow into the group of fighters. The target was determined to be the thug on the left. The dice are rolled and they are showing big numbers, though the arrow just whizzes by. The beastman thug will finish off the creature phase by moving up to the group of fighters and attacking the damaged thug. The beastman has some disadvantage here, but does land a strong blow, almost taking out one of Karen's fighters. For the soldier phase, we only have a couple fighters to move as well. The thief up the table will charge forward and actually be in contact with one of the arcane locks. On the back end of the table, the crossbowman will scoot on over to get a good visual of the beastman archer and fire a shot. The bolt, like most of these dice rolls today, drives into the beast and takes it out in one clean punch. Or shot, I guess. This has been one wild battle round. The beastmen are sort of collapsing, falling apart. But another thug and archer do appear on that same corner of the table. Let's see if Karen can get these treasures quickly and get out of this weapon store. Turn 4 begins with the wizard phase, and Karen wants to get a nice visual on this treasure. The infantryman has enough movement to get up next to the other arcane lock. And just like that, 2 treasures appear at the base of this cabinet. Things will move over to Karen and the 2 fighters next to her. They all will reposition on the battlefield, and our witch will get a decent visual of the 2 beastmen that just spawned in. She will attempt the grenade spell, which goes off on a 12, and it is successful. Against the archer, no damage is done by the concussive blast, but the thug is not quick enough to cover himself from the shrapnel and takes 5 points of damage. This will turn things over to Llyod atop of the crystal, who will reach his hand out and attempt to cast a curse on the beastmen in combat with his allies. His roll is successful, and the beast has a -2 to all die rolls. This encourages the thief to attack the beastman right in front of him, but the dice do not roll in the fighter's favor and takes 4 damage. The thug next to the thief is just out of range of Llyod and will have to activate in the soldier phase. But before that, we have the creature phase. The beastman archer sees Llyod high atop this crystal and will fire an arrow into the apprentice, though the arrow could not find its mark, flying past the apprentice, landing far off into the wastelands. But the beastman thug has a different plan and will move up, engage the enemy thug, and attack the human. The spear pushes past the thug, and he returns a small hit into the beastman, dealing 3 total damage. This will turn things over to the soldier phase. Back over to the other side of the weapons store, the thief will move up and pick up one of the 2 treasures. Karen has the table pretty under her control at this point, but may leave a chest behind before anything too scary spawns in at the table. The crossbowman has a chance to deal even more killing blows to this enemy beast and fires a bolt at the archer. This time around, it flies by the enemy harmlessly. And for the final activation of the round, the green thug here has yet to go and will attack the beastman that is pretty beaten up in front of him. Equal rolls for both fighters, and the beastman squeaks out a point of damage into the fighter. This will then end battle round 4. Some beast boys will spawn again. An archer will appear in the bottom corner near the exit, and fortunately for Karen, this goat man is still holding on to the wretched curse. Karen is in the home stretch now, and it seems she may get out of this one alive. We start turn number 5 with the wizard phase, and Karen will take her turn, moving back down towards the entrance, but will also cast the imp spell. She has intentions of spawning the uncontrolled creature near the mess of combats on the far side of the table, and with a 19, the little red demon will spawn and hopefully cause some mayhem against the bestial foes. The frog, as well as the man-at-arms nearby Karen, will also move up and stay near their wizard. This will then turn things over to Llyod, who will attempt to cast Steal Health on the heavily damaged beast. He needs a 12 on the die, and I think another natural 20 will do. These dice are rolling super hot today. This will defeat the thug and give the thief the opportunity to put some damage into the leftover goatman, though both fighters miss their mark and no damage occurs. For the creature phase, we have a couple beastmen archers who will fire a shot into their nearest enemy. The one will shoot at the giant frog, and the other will fire at the newly spawned imp. The dice, though, were not in the beastmen's favor as both shots went wide. But the goats do have one more attack left, and the spear lunges forward towards the thug. Despite the slim chance, the blade pierces into the thug's flesh and defeats the human fighter. The imp has an action as well, and its closest target is the enemy archer. Both creatures will attack, but they end up rolling a 7 and a 2, so no damage occurs. The beasts have done what they can against the assault of Karen and her crew. Despite having the opportunity to feast on their flesh and bones, these goatmen are no match for the calculating witch. The infantryman has the chance to pick up the second treasure, and some more beasts do spawn on the battlefield, but it is just simply not enough. Our witch and her fighters manage to get to the exit and leave this forsaken weapon store. 2 of the fighters did perish this battle, but they were both just a couple thugs and can be replaced at no cost to our witch. She also did manage to level up twice this battle. She will give herself a nice boost to her fight stat and make the imp spell just a bit easier to cast. For the treasure, Karen finds a bit of gold, a grimoire of animal companion, which could come in handy, as well as a weapon, the vampiric crossbow. Of course, this will be given to the crossbowmen to be used in some upcoming battles. Well, that was some fight. I would say Karen had a bit of luck, or a lot of luck, when it came to the dice rolling. I have a feeling in an upcoming battle report, the dice gods may end up on her bad side, but it is yet to happen. I hope you all enjoyed this little tease into the Perilous Dark solo campaign book. I want to thank my patrons, of course, for being wonderful folks, and allowing me to continue to build and bolster up my battle report shenanigans. So until our next Frostgrave battle, folks, I want to thank you all for watching, and of course, happy gaming.